Turn it down a bit, please. Hello and welcome to the United Stand. If you're watching live, sorry, apologies, a little bit late, but I was speaking to my brother, and if everyone knows what that's all about, then obviously that's more important than you, I'm afraid. But hopefully some positive news there. We'll wait and see. But thanks everyone for joining us. Juventus make a £22 million bid for Marouane Fellaini is the story tonight, as well as Serge AURIER agreeing terms, not with Manchester United. And also Draxler back on the agenda, which is quite interesting as well. But let's start off, top of the morning, top of the show, with it's Vol Tuesday. It's Vol Tuesday. Everyone says, "Oh, what's Vol all about?" I'm going to tell you what Vol's all about. Let's crack on with it. This is may as well get it done. Whoa! Don't want to do that. See, I'm never great. I'm never really that great with it, am I? The intentions are there, but we never get it right. Right, okay, Vol is an app. It's the new hot app. It's the new social media app for football. And we don't want to be on their page. We want to be on the United Stand page. So if we go to the United Stand, you'll see that that's our page. You can follow us on Vol. And if you follow us on Vol, you will get put into a draw to win a Manchester United shirt with the choice of your player on the back. Maybe it will be Fellaini. Link in the video description. What is Vol? It's like a cross between Twitter and Instagram. It's really taken off. We only got on there about 3 or 4 days ago. We've got nearly 755 followers already. We've not posted that much on there, but what we are doing daily, couple a day, is we're putting our polls up on there, because I know a lot of you like polls on Vol. And our one from today was who should start against Swansea, Rashford or Martial. And as you can see, Rashford's got 68% of the vote. Sorry, Martial's got, oh God, don't get that wrong. Martial's got 68% of the vote. So it's free to download. I think it's going to be the new sort of Twitter in the next 6 months. I really do. So link in the video description, download the app, get yourself on there, follow at United Stand, and you might be able to win yourself a Manchester United shirt. But just follow us anyway for the polls. It's going to be the new Twitter. We were really late to the party with Twitter. We've still done quite well on it. Catch this one early, get on there early, build up your followers and all that jazz. Vol, link in the video description, and you can crack on with our polls as well. Right, back to Fellaini. Let's talk about Marouane Fellaini on this Vol Tuesday. Hoffenheim missed the penalty. I tell you what, if you're watching Liverpool and you're not watching the United Stand, that is a bit like wiping your bottom with a United shirt. You should not be doing that. No way. Gibran Khan has made a good contribution. He says, our replacement formation if Lukaku is injured. Well, maybe we can talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about Fellaini. 22 million from Juventus. He's only got a 1-year extension to his contract, so he's out of contract in a year's time. The thing is, 22 million for Fellaini is a lot of money. I mean, I think he's 29 as well. Year left on his contract. Juventus obviously see him as an asset. I think he'd be very good in Italian football, Fellaini, actually, because it's not a very fast league. And I think his aerial ability, I think they'd play him as a number 10 and he'd play really well. I wonder if Fellaini would quite fancy it, you know. It'd be less intense. He'd probably get to play up front more. You know, if I was Fellaini, I'd want to play at number 10 every week because, you know, we've all played football. And yeah, it's great playing in the midfield or the centre-back, but the glamour position's up front. The glamour's scoring goals, and maybe he wants to do that, and I don't think he'll do it much at United. 22 million is a good fee for him. Juventus is a very good club to go to, but I can tell you now, this is not going to get off the ground. It's a bit like a Liverpool title bid. It's going nowhere because Mourinho's infatuated, in love with Fellaini, and he is never going to let him go. Certainly not into the season. So we can forget about that. Not going to happen. But would I do it? Regardless of what I think about him, I would do it. £22 million is a very, very good deal. He's going to be 30, says Aish13. Take the money, says John. Please take him, says Dylan. Get Fellaini a taxi to the airport now, says Mark79. Get Vardy as backup, says Andrew Thompson. Mr. Fresh says he'd take 20p, 2p. Take my clothes, says SD. Look, of course, I think we'd all take the money for Fellaini. You know, I know he's a trier, but I think we'd all get rid of him given the opportunity. There's no problem with that. The reality is, though, for Mourinho is not going to do it. Serge AURIER. Let's talk about Serge AURIER for a minute. Well, apparently he'd agreed deals with Juventus. Yeah, well, Juventus were in for him, actually. I'm not wrong with that, but it was a slip of the tongue. He'd agreed deals with terms with Manchester United a week ago. Apparently now he's agreed terms with Spurs. We know he's a bit of a hothead, but come on, sort yourself out, Serge. Yeah, Spurs apparently are going to nip in ahead of United and Chelsea and get him. I don't agree with all this. Oh, he snubs United for Spurs, or he snubs Chelsea for Spurs. I think what it actually is Spurs have a right back position that needs filling, and Aurier might look at it and go, Champions League football in London, I get to play every week. I'm sure he looks at United and fancies it, but he probably looks at United and sees the unsurmountable challenge of Valencia and not playing week in, week out. And I think that's what the attraction with Spurs is for Aurier. I don't think it's got anything to do with him snubbing United. And maybe United aren't in for him. Maybe United are looking at Fabinho. You know? You never know. You never know. And the last one I want to talk about is Draxler. Draxler. What do we think about Draxler, everybody? Would we take Draxler at Manchester United? I certainly would. Apparently he is surplus to requirements at PSG. PSG not wanting him anymore. They're apparently going to get Mbappe. They've got Neymar. They've got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of wingers. They've got Di Maria. They've got Lucas Moura. And Draxler might be available. And Draxler is a player that Manchester United have been linked with for a few years. If we're not getting Perisic, I'd quite like Draxler. If we could get him for 50 million, I think he's a better buy than Perisic. But it's tentative at the moment, but I do like the look of Draxler. Rodney, have we got you?
I'm here, sir. How are you?
I'm very good. You're on your holidays in Barcelona, are you?
Yeah, I'm in Barcelona with the missus. A planned vacation many months ago. So, but even so, I'm still with the United family. She understands.
I was going to say, if I was in Barcelona, I wouldn't be doing the United stand. So, as long as you want, mate, and then get off and get a bit of sangria down here. What is the weather good?
The weather's been very good. It's been very good. And considering the last few weeks in England, I'll be sad to return. Only for the weather, but not for the football. No,
the football's been really good. Very quickly, you were at the game on Sunday for about 70 minutes.
Yeah, I was there. Because I booked my flight to come to Barcelona. When the fix was originally mentioned for a Saturday, and then they changed it for a Sunday, which meant I could only see roughly about 70 minutes of the game. I was there. I'm glad that I went. I thought that it was a really good display.
So you missed 2 goals, did you?
I missed 2. Yeah, I know. Two. I mean, when I got back, I actually did say to someone that I was sitting next to, I said, I'm good. I expect 4-0, and they kind of looked at me, kind of like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "No, I do." From what I saw in the first 5 or 10 minutes, I thought that West Ham were there for the taking, as long as the team gelled and created not only just created the chances, put the chances away. And I think in terms of Lukaku, his first goal was just brilliant. The movement off the ball and the finish. It was a controlled finish in off the post. Pleased to go in, and obviously, pleased for him. His first goal at Old Trafford is always a good thing to do.
We've had a couple of comments here. Gibran Khan, thank you. He says we should pay Juventus 22 million to take Fellaini. Not a bad deal. Maybe give him a signing bonus plus flight tickets and a haircut.
Right.
Matthew McFadden, he's a legend. He got Goldbridge on the back of his shirt. Draxler's career has been revived by PSG. Made a sideways step when he joined Wolfsburg from Schalke. I'd take him if he was available. Very direct, skillful, and has a great shot from either side. And Sean Atwood says he will let Fellaini go if he wants to leave. Interesting points there. Thanks, lads, for the contributions. There was one from earlier as well I need to ask you about as well, Rodney. But let's stick with Fellaini for a moment. I don't think there's anything in it. I'm sure there probably is interest from Juventus. I think there's been interest from Turkey. But as much as it makes total sense to let him go and get a decent fee for him, I just don't think Mourinho's ever going to let that happen.
No, I mean, every United fan has probably been wishing for Fellaini to leave, and I think in the last game in terms of the Super Cup against Real Madrid, he did have a very good game, but at the same time we still would like him to go. I'm like you, I don't think he will go, but if he does, if for some reason Mourinho decides to let him go, I would expect something in return from Juventus. And I would expect their left back, Alexandro, to come to Old Trafford with a kind of fee in terms of to balance off Fellaini going in the opposite direction, because the left side is still an issue. Now, maybe Mourinho's looking at that and thinking, well, if I can use Fellaini as make weight, possible. But, you know, that's just me putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 10. The likelihood of that happening is between slim and zero. But that's what I would think of doing if I were Mourinho. I'd be thinking, okay, how can I cash in on this player? How am I going to strengthen my squad? What areas need strengthening? Who can I kind of, you know, ask for and negotiate?
Yeah, because if we did take 20 million for Fellaini, who's touching 30, we also know that there is there's what's his face, Ross Barkley, Renato Sanchez. So there are a couple of midfielders. I think a lot of people in the comments are saying, oh, it'd leave us very light in the midfield, but I think there are midfielders who are young who, with that 22 million, you'd almost only had to add 10 million on, and you'd get him.
Well, yeah, I mean, to add on to what you've said about Ross Barkley, I believe that Everton tonight or today have agreed a fee with Swansea for Sigurdsson around 45 million, which would kind of trigger the kind of like Ross Barkley, where do you fit in now scenario with Rooney there and Sigurdsson possibly joining soon. He's probably looking at thinking, well, either I sit on the bench at Everton or train with the reserves, or do I put myself out there to particular teams that want me? Spurs are obviously been linked to him, but it doesn't mean for me having a player like him at Old Trafford a bad thing, because I think he's young enough and versatile enough to actually fit in at Old Trafford. And it goes back to something that I mentioned to someone earlier, maybe on a tweet. We've spent so long this summer looking at European players, and none of them have come off in terms of the transfers. And we've Lukaku, Matic, both are already in the Premier League. You know, apart from Lindelof, which no one saw coming. I mean, we mentioned his name, or you mentioned his name back in January. There has been no one in terms of a European player that we've actually been linked to where there's been any real sign of them joining Manchester United. So I wouldn't be surprised that if Fellaini does go, it frees up cash for Mourinho, and we can offer 25 or 30 million to Everton and say, we'll take Ross Barkley off your hands.
Tommy Herald says, if Jose uses Fellaini to get Sandro, he deserves a statue. I would agree with that.
Oh.
Roy Martin says, United stands the best thing on the internet, thanks to the people who make it happen and all the United fans around the world. Well, you lot make it happen as well, so congratulations to yourself. Kev McGee says, hopefully Matic coming has made Fellaini consider Juventus for guaranteed first-team football. There was a question from before on it I did want to ask, actually. It was from the comments, and it was along the lines of, what do we do? What should we do if Lukaku picked up an injury? Who should play up front?
I think Rashford and Martial have shown, even in the short spell that they've been in the first team and from last year, that they can do a job. We still light on a striker, technically, even though we're linked, or the rumour is that Zlatan will be given a way back, or shown a way back in the new year. We'll need someone from midfield who can score 10 to 15 goals. And if it's not going to be any of the strikers that we've got, like Martial and Rashford and Lukaku, we're going to have to get the midfield players that are already there scoring goals, or go for a midfield player who doesn't want to be with their club and does score goals. And we know who that is. He's residing at a club in North London, and he's looking very unhappy.
Well back.
So no, he can stay where he is. As much as I like him, he's burnt his bridges for me. I think Sanchez is the person that would kind of fit into the United team and score goals, and not just the odd goal. He'd pop up in big games and score goals. And I think that's really important for us. We can score goals against the West Hams and the West Broms, but when we come up against Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, Liverpool, we need to make sure that our top players are scoring goals. So if Lukaku is injured, if it's not Rashford and Martial, we're definitely going to have to either bring in someone as an attacking midfielder who will supplement and add to those goals, or we're going to demand more from the midfield that we've already got.
I tell you what, it just popped into my head. I've got a good couple of questions for you, but this one was obviously we've not heard much about. We should have brought Hernandez back, have we, since the weekend?
Oh.
And I was open to Hernandez coming back, but he would have to have been a bench player, and I've got no problem with Hernandez. I think he wanted to play first team football, but for anybody who was living in that romantic past, I think reality bit on Sunday afternoon when he got put in Phil Jones' pocket. Whatever people think about Phil Jones, he did dominate Hernandez, and Hernandez first touch. If people want to, I've been quite critical, like Scholes has, of Lukaku's first touch, but I think he can improve on it. I mean, Hernandez's first touch is it's worse than a brick wall. It bounces far, far further. So I think that's something that a few people, even I thought maybe we could get him in.
Yeah, I did as well. I mean, I kind of thought, it would be nice for him to come back and to be part of the squad, and if not first choice, backup striker. And I also think, in terms of being kind of generous to him, coming back to Old Trafford would have been a very difficult experience for him, because despite everything that he said, I know probably deep down he has a lot of love for the club, and he probably wished his career didn't end the way that it did, with him being shipped out on loan and then being released. I think if he could go back in time, he'd still want to be at United.
Yeah, I'd agree. Good comment here from Prometheus92 says, Fabinho, please, would be such a great buy with him being able to fill in the middle and at the back. And I think Fabinho would be good if Fellaini went, because he would be cover for the midfield, but he'd also be that cover for Valencia as well. Nothing new to add in that. I just think he would be a good signing. Aurier is a player, Rodney, though. He's apparently,
if you could go and get him now.
He's looking at Spurs now.
Is he?
Yeah, because, I think it's just because, I was saying just before you came on air.
It's the London club.
Also, I think they can offer him first team football, because they've sold Kyle Walker, and like the London thing's always an attraction, but also he can play week in, week out. I think at United he would get games, but obviously he's not going to get ahead of Valencia.
No, I mean, to be honest, let's just play some, apart from a jigsaw, let's play Rubik's Cube, and we're moving things around. Say Fellaini does leave and he goes, and we then, in terms of the squad that we've already got, bring Aurier in to play on the right side, and we then ask Valencia, who has done a very good job on the right-hand side in the past 2 years, to go back to his original position, the position that he played before he joined United as a central midfielder, the position that he plays for his country as a central midfielder. Ferguson turned him into a winger when we sold Ronaldo. He thought that Valencia would be the answer, because we sold Ronaldo to Madrid. He needed someone that had the legs to go up and down and cross the ball. Well, Valencia has the legs, but if anyone who has watched United for the past 4 years will know that Valencia hits the ball like he's smashing it with a baseball bat. There's no real finesse. If you're a striker, there's no real finesse with his final ball. You might get, 1 out of 100 crosses might be, delicately chipped in, but more often than not, he will smash it in. So,
and I think that's where, just to interrupt there, because Gibran Khan's made another contribution. He says Barkley in place of Fellaini, thoughts, which we've obviously discussed, but thanks for the comment. But I think you've wandered into an area there that's very problematic for United, and has been for a long time, is that, we were fantastic on Sunday, but most of the goals came through the middle. In fact, I think they all did. But we've got a real asset in Lukaku, and we had a real asset in Zlatan last year, that if we whip the cross in with the natural footer, I don't like any of this come back onto your strong foot and whip it towards the goal. Hit the channels, hit the byline, and whip it into that dead man's area, dead man walking area, I used to call it as a centre-back, where you're facing your own goal, it's coming in along the 6-yard box, and the striker's attacking it. But we haven't got anybody to do that. But there's plenty of people in world football who can. We've got nobody on the left, no one on the right who can do it. And I think that's a massive area that Mourinho's always been big on. I mean, his teams from corners used to be deadly. And I think that's why he wants a winger.
And that's why I suggest with the Aurier, if Spurs can offer him first team football, whoever's negotiating with his agent needs to stress that this is the possibility should Fellaini go. And this is just me kind of stretching a piece of string as far as it can possibly go, that Aurier would do a fantastic job for us, and he can cross the ball, and he can cross the ball with purpose, and he can pick out a player, regardless of what anyone says about his temperament and him being a bit of a hothead. I mean, let's face it, there are quite a few hotheads in football. He won't be the first one to play in the Premier League, and he won't be the last. Mourinho has managed certain individuals that he's actually said that have been unmanageable. Like what's his name? That was at Liverpool. Can't even think of his name now. It's gone off the top of my head. Balotelli. Yeah, Balotelli. You know, so is he on Balotelli's radar in terms of like being off his head? Probably not. But he would be ideal for Manchester United at right back. And I think in terms of moving players around, I think that the strength at the back gives us the protection that we need and allows the flair and quick players to do what they did on Sunday. But we do have weaknesses, or would I say, not weaknesses, areas that we need to develop on the left and right flank.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And we'll just have to see what happens. But Wesley FC are back with Alexandro again, saying would be a perfect signing. He would. Brilliant at left back, very strong, good going forward, good for support for the left winger. But hopefully Luke Shaw can do that job. Richard Littlewood says United aren't in for Aurier, it's just agent talk. Would he take Fabinho or Aurier and name three wingers Rodney would buy, says Hamid. I'll give you a minute to think about that.
Yeah.
Conan Lucas, signal from OT is bad, says James B. Please answer my question. Can you remember the last time Lukaku got injured? I didn't follow him that enough to know when he got last injured, to be honest. Kayem Ali, I don't know. I've not really heard of him being injured that much. Tox Kazim's worried about Herrera not starting on Sunday. Bay and Lindelof can fill in right back. We ain't looking to strengthen there, says Kyle Beats. And are we linked to Dybala, says Josh. I don't think so. Couldn't fault anybody on Sunday, says Cyan Monkey. And I have a feeling Martial can cross and so can Rashford, says Jude Darcy. Well, we'd like to see that, Jude, if they can. There's no need to hide that skill. And Fellaini is going nowhere, boys. No, I think we totally agree with you on that one. And I think you're not being... Oh, God, I keep clicking on the wrong thing here. Adiga says, you're not being fair on Lukaku's first touch. Harry Kane, Aguero, Alexis Sanchez, Diego Costa all had worse first touches than him. I don't know about Aguero and Sanchez and Costa, but Harry Kane hasn't got a great first touch, you're right. Alex Rodriguez, I wanted Lukaku last January. Why did you change your mind? I wanted Lukaku not last summer, the summer before. I was really wanted him. I think I went off him just because of, you know, maybe, hopefully I am wrong. I just went off Lukaku based on what I saw him against United, where he just went missing. And that concerned me. But no, you know, those people who say, oh, you never wanted Lukaku, if you've been watching the United stand long enough, I really did want him a couple of years ago. But I think ever since that cup semi-final where he missed the penalty and he was awful, and then every game I saw him play United, he was awful. That was my, you know, and I didn't expect we would get him either. I didn't think Mourinho would go back for a player he sold at Chelsea. So I've been pleasantly surprised by him. It is good. But Rodney, any thoughts on wingers that you would you think United could get that you'd like to have at United? I mean, that's always been my problem with Perisic. I just don't necessarily know that there is anyone else.
Well, I just saw one of the comments and it said Shaqiri for a winger, and he's at Stoke. He's kind of similar to what we've got already, really, as a winger. He does come inside, and I wouldn't necessarily always crosses the ball first time. But for the three players that come to mind for me, Draxler has proven that he can play on the wing. Forsberg.
Yeah, mentioned a lot he has, hasn't he? Yeah.
I mean, you know, an out-and-out winger. And Dembele, Dortmund again. As much as he plays he plays out wide, he's not a central player. He plays out wide, and he can. So, but wingers per se, in the old-fashioned sense of someone that stands literally on the edge of the pitch and crosses the ball, they're few and far between. And a lot of players will always come inside, and a lot of managers will always use a player on the alternative wing to their natural kicking foot, which is what we have at the moment. And I think Mourinho's problem, and it's not a problem of his making, is that he came to United and Mata was already switched out to the outside right. So to then put him into the middle meant changing everything around in terms of the personnel that he had last year. I think that if he were to get a winger and Fellaini move, you'd probably see Mata come more into the middle, and he wouldn't be used in that position. And we might actually get more goals because he, along with Zlatan last year, was probably one of our top scorers. So the wingers that I've mentioned are Draxler, Forsberg, and Dembele. Not necessarily ideal, but all three can cross the ball to the centre forward and are technically gifted enough, not just only to cross, but to go past the defender, which we don't see.
No, I think we definitely need a specialist winger. We've got so many players who can play at number 10. Mata, Mkhitaryan, Pogba can do it, Pereira can do it, Fellaini can do it. We've got people who can play up front, but we haven't got anybody really who is a specialist wide player. Martial's good at it because he's a flair player. Rashford can do it because he's a flair player. Lingard's not a winger, and that's it. Ashley Young used to be one, not anymore. And I don't think Ashley Young really should be involved with the first team anymore. Valencia
should be released.
Yeah, Valencia can do it, but I don't think he will do anymore. So, yeah, I mean, talk about players being released. Peshman Arian's made a contribution. I think you're going to get a few pelters here, Peshman. He says Rashford should go out on loan to get experience. I don't think Rashford needs to go on loan. I think he's
not going anywhere.
He maybe needs to go on the bench a bit and share the load with Martial, but no, there's nowhere he needs to go other than United at the moment. I don't think. But it's all about opinion. What about Beckham? He was a beast, says Tracy Jordan. I think she's just thinking about Beckham, but no, he was.
Yeah, just definitely.
A fantastic crosser of the ball.
I'll tell you who does cross the ball well, and we released him on loan. Borthwick Jackson.
Yeah. He's
got a sweet left foot. And, you know, he does really pick out the cross. But again, there's someone who maybe he doesn't fit the Mourinho blueprint at the moment. He's tall, but he doesn't, and maybe he's not quick enough, or he's not, you know, he doesn't put himself about enough. But I think him going out on loan he will definitely develop. I wouldn't have liked him to have gone to Leeds, but that's, you know, here nor there. But he's one player that I've seen at United that can definitely pick out a front man with a cross, and with very little time to do so as well. You know, he can actually manipulate the ball without too much effort. But other than that, I can't really say anyone that crosses the ball extremely well. And what I dislike, not to go on too long, is Rashford taking corners. I don't like that. As much as he's playing out wide, for me, even though he's playing wide, when we get corners, I want to see him in the box trying to score goals.
Yeah, I agree. It's a bit like the whole Harry Kane situation in the Euros, isn't it? I don't really understand it. Same with free kicks. I know he scored a good free kick towards the end of last season, but again, I think it's like this Harry Kane thing. He's obviously done a couple in training, and now that's him to do. I don't think Rashford's big problem is his final ball. Whether it's passing, he's sometimes lazy at that. Whether it's his crossing or whether it's his finishing. He should not be doing set pieces when he's not mastered the art of his final ball yet. And that's totally fine. Rashford's my favourite player with Martial, but he's 19. And if he sorts that out, he can be pretty much anything, because he's got everything else. He's bulked up, he's fast, he's strong, he's clever. Just needs to sort his final ball out.
Yeah, he's still playing as if he's watching his shoelaces. You know, he's 100 miles an hour, but he's not looking up.
Yeah, just needs to get that head up. Varela was good at crossing as well, but I agree with us getting rid of him.
Yeah.
He couldn't defend for Toffee. But yeah, Borthwick Jackson, a lot of people have mentioned him on the United stand for the last 18 months, really, as when he's going to get his chance. But you've been asked a question here from Fionn Curtin. You're in Barcelona, so I think that makes you an expert on this. What are your thoughts on Sergi Roberto from Barcelona?
I know that you mentioned him as being a utility player and he would do a job for United, but I'm not so sure about us bringing him in to fulfil the left-sided role. I think we'd be better off looking at someone slightly more dynamic than what he can offer. For me, if you're trying to get away from Barcelona, there are one or two things. Because no one really wants to leave Barcelona. It's either you can't get into the team, full stop, or they don't think you're good enough. And I don't know if he thinks that he's good enough for Barcelona, or he just can't. Do you know? So for me, I wouldn't necessarily want him to be at United. But that's not to say whether or not Mourinho would like him, or whether he'd do a good enough job. And what position he would take. because thinking about the game on Sunday, we started with three at the back. Where would he fit into that defensive system?
Yeah,
You know,
I don't have any. I don't think we're in for Roberto. I just don't see us. I don't think it's the sort of Mourinho signing. He's not particularly tall for a start, but he's also a Barcelona player. I don't think we're in for him. I think people are putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5 really. He got torn apart against PSG as a fullback as well, and
by who? Draxler.
Was it Draxler? Yeah, it probably was. Yeah, but I thought it might be the snake for a minute. But it's like for the position we would be getting him as which is a sort of midfielder, fullback, utility player. Why would you go and get a tiki-taka player for that? You know, get a proper defender. I don't think he's a proper defender, and I don't think we play the way that he. And I think it'd be a big waste of money, to be honest.
No.
I think Fabinho is the ideal one, and I think as we've said tonight, maybe get a Ross Barkley. I mean, Dave B says get the Ox in. I mean, Chelsea look like they're going to be very busy.
A good shout with Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to what I mentioned to you earlier. I mean, we spent so long looking at players in Europe. There are players, and this is as much as we, pulled in 3 trophies last year. The reality is we finished lower than we should have in the league, and there are players in teams that are above us that are unhappy with their current club and would like to go to a team that's doing well. And Man United have already shown that they're pulling together. So Oxlade-Chamberlain doesn't want to stay at Arsenal. He doesn't want to be the next Theo Walcott, because if he does, he'll stay there, or he'll be the next Jack Wilshere. He's looked at the writing on the wall. He's thinking, I need to get out now before it's too late. And it would be good for him to join a club. Hopefully he doesn't go to Liverpool. And if we could get him, he'd be fantastic at Old Trafford. Absolutely.
Chelsea apparently in for him at 35 million. Chelsea are linked to a lot of people, but I think Chelsea have got to sign players after the start they had. Just tonight, apparently they're in for Perisic now. Wouldn't surprise me.
Chelsea are acting like someone who's been stung by 10 wasps and they're frantically looking for an answer.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
The thing is, though, I don't know why we ever balked at paying 50 million for Perisic, because if Sigurdsson's worth 45 million,
exactly,
it's not a lot of difference.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Oh, someone's quoting me some stats there. There was a comment I wanted to read, and I forget. Oh yeah, just a little bit about Herrera. There's a few people who've been saying tonight, do you think Herrera will go to Barcelona? His former manager, obviously he's now the Barcelona manager. Didn't play at the weekend. Barcelona's manager used to manage Herrera at Bilbao. And
exactly. Exactly. I said who? I mean, how long will he last?
I don't think he's going anywhere this season.
Yeah, I mean the manager at Barcelona.
Yeah. Barcelona don't look that good, do they?
No, they don't. So Herrera will probably think, I won't be going anywhere. I'll stay and fight for my place. Barcelona look like a team, not necessarily in free fall, but they don't necessarily have the shine that they're an aging team. They're an aging team, and why would you want to go and join an aging team that are, not necessarily going to win anything next year, apart from maybe fight with the league, but they're not going to win the Champions League. So
no,
Herrera might as well stay and fight for the Premiership.
And we've had one game. I mean, Herrera will be involved.
Exactly.
Last season he was absolutely dead on his feet because he played so much. This year, he's probably going to play a little bit less, but have a lot more competition. So the best of both worlds for United, as far as I'm concerned. And
definitely.
I've got no doubt he'll be heavily involved. You're in Spain, so I'll answer this question from Kodark Cloud Jr. It's funny actually. Rodney's in Barcelona. Sanders in Madrid a lot. But it is a Madrid-based question. He says, what's your thoughts on Ronaldo's 5-match ban? Is there much going on over there about it?
To be honest, being in Barcelona, they've not mentioned anything about. I've looked at the papers. They don't really care about Ronaldo in Barcelona. The fact that he's got a 5-match ban, they're probably glad. I think they're still feeling after the defeat. And his 5-match ban was deserved, I think.
Yeah, shove the referee. You get double that in the Premier League.
Oh, listen, he's lucky he's in Spain. Could you imagine? He wouldn't play till Christmas. Exactly.
I mean, it was a two-hand shove, and the referee did milk it and fall over. But at the end of the day, if you it's the same as getting sent off, isn't it? If you're going to headbutt someone, do it properly, because you're still going to get sent off.
Yeah, you might as well have punched the referee instead of pushing it. Yeah, so he deserves his 5 games. All that will mean for Real Madrid is that they'll be stronger in the second half of the season because he'll be well rested.
Real Madrid are going to walk that league anyway. They are the best team in the world at the moment, and I won't be surprised if they won a hat-trick of Champions Leagues. I can't really see anybody getting close to them. United Life Forever says we deserve a suspension to suggest Ross Barkley and Oxlade-Chamberlain are better than Sergi Roberto, although he called him Sergio Roberts.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not so much necessarily to say that they're both better than him. I'm going to go back to, again, they're both players that are based in the Premier League, that have got experience of playing in the Premier League. Look at Lindelof. He came and he played all of the pre-season games. First game, not anywhere near the team, nowhere near it at all. And that's because I think he needs to realise, one, how fast the Premiership is, so he can watch it and see what happens, and then also know what he's expected to be like once he gets into the squad.
Yeah.
Both of the players that have been named know what the Premier Leagues are like. Sergio Roberto will have no idea what the Premiership's about. He's got one tough game a year against Real Madrid. After that, everyone rolls over for Barcelona. It's not like that in the Premiership. No. You need to be on your guard all the time.
This is a good question from Paul Lucas. He says, what do you make of talk of shortening the transfer window to the start of the season? I think it's basically talking about closing the window on August the 1st, so that by the time you play your first game, you can't sign anybody then. I personally would be very happy about that. I don't like the fact that it's open in August. We've lost point. I remember that season under Van Gaal when he bought loads of people in the last week of August and we dropped points. You know, there's a good chunk of the season. Yeah. You know, you can lose 9 points.
Didn't that Falcao come?
Yeah, that was the one. I think it was Di Maria, Blind, and
and I'm all for the window being shortened. I'm all for players and clubs being told specifically that players need to move within a set time frame, so that every player within every league is at their club by the starts of those individual leagues, irrespective of what time your league finished. I think there's too much wiggle room, for use of a better phrase, where the league begins and then you can still start to cherry pick, and players are like, look at Sanchez.
Look what Chelsea are going to do in the next 2 weeks, having lost.
Yeah, exactly. They'll literally go and throw a checkbook at everyone to see who they can bring in. You know, they'll throw so much money at players to say, come and join us, play for us. It really does need to be, I think it needs to be a fixed window, but also it comes into the whole thing with the financial fair play, where every team is starting off on the same page. It's like a race, you know. Every single team needs to be starting on the start line at the same time, and the date stops when everyone says it stops, and not, you know, the league started here, you know, Spain, it might start a week later. It's ridiculous. It doesn't do anything for football fans, because I think you're still trying to work out which is your favourite player and hedging bets on someone coming in. But I think the only people that make money out of it is the betting organisations and the agents and everyone else. It's no good for clubs. I'd rather it be just one fixed window.
We've got it's Vol Tuesday. The link is in the video description. It's free to sign up with Vol. I mean, you don't sign up, it's an app. It's basically the new Twitter. Really, really taking off. Get on there while you can. Follow us at United Stand. We've got we're using it for polls exclusively at the moment. We put a few other posts, but really we're putting polls up there. Going to put Aurier versus Fabinho up when we finish the show tonight up on there. So link in the video description. Follow us at United Stand, and Vol, quite kindly, they want people to get involved, are going to give away a United shirt with your choice of name on the back. Do what Matthew McFadden did. Get my name, or even Rodney's. But on that point,
Rodney, I'm going to say something. I can't even download the app because my phone is that old. I have to hold my head up. It's terrible. I need an upgrade.
I'm getting a new one tomorrow. I'm getting a Samsung 8. 8.
Oh, 8. Okay. I need to do the same.
But yeah, the poll from today: who should start against Swansea on Saturday lunchtime? Rashford or Martial?
Martial.
You've gone with 70%. Yeah, 70% say the same.
Martial, I think considering that he didn't get much time or against West Ham, it would be good for him to start a game. He showed what he can do in 10 minutes. Imagine if he did that every 20 minutes in a game, he would, literally destroy teams. I think, as he said at the beginning of the show, the camaraderie is good. So I think Mourinho is ready, and I think Martial would be definitely ready. So, and it wouldn't be a bad thing for Rashford to sit out and watch. Because you can play every week and everyone thinks that you learn, but sometimes you need to watch and absorb and see how things develop so that you can improve your own game.
I'm just reading some of the comments on Vol, actually, because you can comment underneath the poll as well. And at Rastatone says they both played well against West Ham, given 45 minutes against Swansea and decided their third game. I quite like the idea of that. At Bauer92 says it's a toss of the coin, pointless starting both. Then we have no one to change the game if needed. Yeah, well, the link in the video description for Vol is there. Get yourself signed up and start building your social media there. Like I said, we were late on Twitter. Don't be late with Vol. I think it's gonna go off big time. So get involved in that. Oh yeah, and the other thing I want to just sort of call to action for the United Stand. We started it a few weeks ago. We're still looking at this brilliant opportunity for somebody to basically be our person at United games, outside the ground, home and away. If it's something that interests you, that you want to do, you don't necessarily have to have a season ticket to do it. It's a career move. Do you want to do it? Think about Arsenal Fan TV and what they do, and a couple of others. We want to do it our own way. We've got our own ideas, but I can't do it because I do watch along. So we want somebody, and we'll sort the camera out and everything like that. Somebody who is going to be committed to be at United games, interviewing some fans, also themselves, and also, because you'll become quite a well-known face at the grounds, you will also get to be on the shows and sometimes presenting shows as well. So it's a massive opportunity. We have spoken to a few people. If you're interested, don't just contact us because you think, oh, that sounds like a good idea, and you've not thought it through, and you've got no aspiration that you want to go all around the country, and all that sort of stuff. It's a great opportunity, but we're looking for somebody really good. Soccerboxtv@gmail.com is the email address. Get in contact with us. We're going to mention it more and more because we definitely want to get that up and running this season. And also, the website's back up and running, theunitedstand.com. So if you're a talented writer and you want to write and build something up on your CV, lots of people read the website. A great opportunity there. So soccerboxtv@gmail.com if you're interested in that. If you're a budding cameraman and you want to be the cameraman, get in contact with us about that as well.
Excellent.
Rodney, I'm not going to take up any more of your holiday. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Right. Let me just see. The one thing, I think I've covered everything in terms of what you wanted to say. I kind of made some notes. I think the only thing that I wanted to say was about the Fabinho link to United or not to United. Or does he want to go to PSG now?
Yeah, I think. I don't know what's happening with Mbappe. A lot of people said, "Oh, he's going there." Which just
I wouldn't be surprised he does go. I think someone asked me the question about financial fair play on Twitter, and with Mbappe probably going to PSG, and I said it'll probably happen, and they said, oh, FIFA definitely to look at it, and I said FIFA are too busy putting their head in the sand, something to that description.
Yeah.
Basically, PSG they're going to blow everyone away in terms of the players that they're going to bring in, because they definitely want to win the Champions League. They've made a very serious decision about what they want to do. And also, it's almost like they're trying to recreate the Brazilian team. So I wouldn't be surprised if Fabinho does end up at PSG, because they'll have quite a few Brazilian players there, which will mean that the links to us have been nothing more than a ruse in terms of pushing the price up for PSG to pay Monaco what Monaco want. Because if it was only PSG trying to buy him, then Monaco wouldn't necessarily get the valuation that they think he's worth. But that's just me again throwing something and thinking that might happen. But I don't see Fabinho being in the Premier League unless Chelsea go and throw loads of money at him and say, we'll make you the best paid player in the Premiership.
It's an oddity, really, because Monaco don't need the money to sell to their rivals, but I think it's players forcing the move. Tyrone Williams says, I'd love to write for the website, and David says, I really like the website, great articles. In fact, rather than emailing soccerboxtv@gmail.com for the website, if you go to theunitedstand.com, I think there's a contact us page on there that will take you straight through to the lads who run the website anyway, so that's the best way to do that. If you're interested in the presenting around the grounds and everything like that, soccerboxtv@gmail.com, and we'll do them two separately there. But nearly 2,000 people watching, which is fantastic. I know it's been I call it drop-off Tuesday today, because across the board on football YouTube channels, it's been very low viewing figures. I don't know where you've all gone. Holidays maybe, yeah, but we're still here every day, so support the channel and keep involved, keep communicating and commenting. Some great comments on the video this morning. I had Collymore on the end of it today, and he got the lowest views on on transfer morning show I've ever had this summer. I just think it was just a quiet day, because yeah, it was Stan. I was on his show last night. But drop a like on the video. Rodney's on Tuesdays. I really enjoy the Tuesday show. Good opportunity to have a chat with Rodney and get your questions to him. So make sure you drop a like. Nearly 2,000 of you watching. Really enjoyed it, Rodney. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I'm glad I took the time out of the holiday, and I'll make it up to the other half in a few minutes.
Yeah, get her down the bar and have a few sangrias.
Yeah, a few cocktails.
Thanks everybody for watching. Obviously, we can't do the show without you. Really, really good. Obviously, and like I said, don't forget to download Vol. Link in the video description, and follow us on there at United Stand. I'm about to put the Fabinho versus Aurier poll up on there, so you can comment on that, and we'll be reading those comments out on the shows tomorrow. Zahil Mashal wants to be a cameraman. If you're a talented cameraman, you can. Soccerboxtv@gmail.com if you're interested in that. And the website, if you want to write, go to the website, theunitedstand.com, and contact them through the Contact Us page. Thanks everybody for watching. Back tomorrow morning at 7 AM, unless something happens tonight, which I don't think it will do. Just doesn't feel like it at the moment, does it? But yeah, I'll be back with you tomorrow. Tomorrow night is our preview show for Swansea. We're doing it a little bit early, and I've got some real good new things to show you that I think you're going to like. So don't miss it tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks for coming on, Rodney.
No worries, mate. Always do that for the stand.
Yeah, very impressive.